Hey everyone, it's Triple Mango Threat, and today we're going over the cards to add and remove from the Human Tribal deck from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Let's jump right into it. Our commander is Lenore Autumn Sovereign. It costs 2 green white, it's a 0/4 human noble, and it has Coven. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. And then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. I thought about it and it's really easy to get 3 creatures with different powers. And I always recommend to add that optional +1/+1 counter to a creature of ours, especially the one with the greatest power, assuming we control 3 different powers already. We're still going to get to draw a card at the beginning of combat on our turn when we do this. So the cards I want to add to the deck are Beast Whisperer. For 2 and 2 green we get a 2/3 elf druid. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. There are 30 plus creatures in the deck, and when we cast them we now get to draw cards. For 4 mana and being a creature that we can add counters to, this is a great card for the deck. Colossal Majesty. It's an enchantment for 2 and a green. At the beginning of our upkeep, if we control a creature with power 4 or greater, we get to draw a card. This is going to be an easy way to draw cards, and it doesn't cost us mana to do so as long as we have a creature. Garruk's Uprising. Another enchantment for 2 and a green. When it enters the battlefield, if we control a creature with power 4 or greater, we get to draw a card. Creatures you control have trample, and whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Even if we don't draw cards off of this, giving our creatures trample is what the deck needed. We can have all the huge creatures, but they can always be blocked by 1/1s, and then we're just wasting time when we could be dealing damage. Greater Good. It's an enchantment for 2 and 2 green. It's another great way to draw cards, and for having huge creatures. We can sacrifice them and draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, then we discard 3. This may seem bad discarding 3 cards, but we get to draw lots of cards when we have our huge creatures. As long as we're getting 4 or more cards, this is a great sacrifice outlet to use, because all the cards we're drawing will far outweigh the 3 that we discard. Mindless Automaton. For 4 colorless we get a 0/0 construct. When it enters the battlefield, it gets 2 +1/+1 counters on it. We can pay 1 and discard a card to put a +1/+1 counter on it, but most importantly we can remove 2 counters from it to draw a card. This is super powerful with all the counters we're putting on our creatures, so we're going to get a ton of card draw from this one. The cards I would remove from the deck are Biogenic Upgrade. For 4 and 2 green, for a sorcery we get to distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures. Then we double the number of +1/+1 counters. This is a good card for the deck, but I wanted to go with a go wide approach, which means to affect as many creatures as we can or have as many creatures as possible. This only affects 3. Custody Soulbinders. For 3 and a white we get a 0/0 human cleric. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of other creatures on the battlefield. We have 2 and a white, remove a +1/+1 counter from it to create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. This was too slow in my opinion, and costly. We have to pay 4 mana to cast this card, and then an additional 3 mana to remove a counter from it to get a 1/1 spirit. There are way better options for making tokens, especially in white. Dearly Departed. For 4 and 2 white, it's a 5/5 spirit with flying. As long as it's in our graveyard, each human you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. I liked this ability, but we can do the exact same thing for 2 mana cheaper with Renata Call to the Hunt. She is green instead of white, but it says each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. This isn't in the deck or the upgrades, but this is another great option if you want to add it. Heron's Grace Champion. For 2 green white, it's a 3/3 human knight with flash and lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, other humans you control get +1/+1 and gain lifelink until end of turn. This is a neat combat trick and doesn't help us get more counters. The lifelink can be helpful, but again, this is only a one-time effect. I'm looking for more consistent and repeatable effects. For Durus Gearhulk. For 3 and 2 green, it's a 4/4 construct. It has trample, and when it enters the battlefield, distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. This is a great card, and even better when we can abuse the fact that it has an ETB or enters the battlefield trigger. It's nice that it has trample, but I was looking to add more card draw for the deck, so I had to let this one go. Thank you all so much for watching. If you'd like to purchase any of the cards I mentioned, you can use the TCG link down below to help out the channel at no additional cost to you. Let me know if you'd recommend any other cards to add or take out of the deck, and subscribe for more Mango content. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.